I'm JosieWose and this video is dedicated to Laris, who requested that I read Disney's Ralph Breaks the Internet. This is the second Wreck-It Ralph book. Now make sure you buy it and read along with me at home. And also if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more storybook read-alongs just like it. Here we go. Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope were the very best of friends. They did everything together. Ralph was the bad guy in the Fix-It Felix Jr. video game, and Vanellope was the best racer in Sugar Rush. Every day after Litwack's arcade closed, Ralph and Vanellope met in Game Central Station. They hung out, played games, and told bad jokes. Their lives were pretty flawless. They ended each night by watching the sunrise. But one day, there was a new plugin alert. The plugin wasn't a new game, it was something called Wi-Fi, which was a connection to the internet. The internet is nothing to laugh at. It is new and it is different, Surge Protector said. Therefore, we should fear it, so keep out. Vanellope was disappointed they weren't allowed to go into the internet. A new racing game would have been cool, she told Ralph. She liked Sugar Rush just fine. It just wasn't much of a challenge anymore. That gave Ralph an idea. Ralph ran into Sugar Rush ahead of Vanellope and pounded out a new track for his friend. She's gonna love this, Ralph said. Vanellope did love it, but Swati, the game's player, thought Vanellope had gone off course. Swati turned the steering wheel so hard it snapped off in her hands. Mr. Litwack tried to put the steering wheel back on, but it cracked in two. Litwack said there was no way to order a new one. The company that made Sugar Rush went out of business years ago, he said. Swati searched on her phone and found a used steering wheel on eBay. I found one. See? eBay has a wheel, Mr. Litwack. That's more than that game makes in a year, Litwack said. I hate to say it, but it might be time to sell Sugar Rush for parts. Ralph sounded the alarm. Litwack's going to unplug your game, he shouted. The Sugar Rush characters ran towards Game Central Station as fast as they could. Stay here until the arcade closes, said Surge Protector. Then we'll figure out where the heck we're going to put you. Ralph brought Vanellope into Fix-It Felix Jr. He did what he could to make her comfortable, but Vanellope felt lost. I loved my game, she said. If I'm not a racer anymore, who am I? That evening, Ralph and Felix were talking about the problem. Suddenly, Ralph remembered hearing that a used steering wheel had been found on eBay. Ralph figured if Sugar Rush was fixed, Vanellope would be happy again. Felix liked the sound of that. Ralph ran to get Vanellope. We're going to the internet, he said. Ralph and Vanellope snuck past Surge Protector and entered the Wi-Fi plug. The first stop was a large empty space, the router. But Vanellope thought they were already in the internet. I have to admit, I'm underwhelmed, she said. Just then, Litwack logged on to the internet. An avatar of Litwack appeared and floated through the router. Ah, that's a gremlin, stay away, Ralph warned. It looks like a tiny Mr. Litwack, Vanellope said. Come on, Ralph, said Vanellope as she stared at the image of Mr. Litwack. Let's follow him. As Ralph and Vanellope stepped forward, they were enclosed in capsules and launched into the internet. "Ralph, isn't this great?" asked Vanellope. "No, it is not," yelled Ralph. Vanellope and Ralph were deposited smack bang in the middle of the internet. The place was huge. They would definitely need help finding eBay. Knowsmore, a friendly search engine, was happy to help. As soon as Knowsmore knew what to look for, it only took milliseconds to find the Sugar Rush steering wheel. Vanellope and Ralph were whisked away in a pod to eBay Plaza. They found themselves in a busy place of avatars and pop-up ads. But there was no time to look around. They had to hurry if they wanted to win the steering wheel auction. Ralph and Vanellope made it to the auction with only 30 seconds left. "We have $2.75, the auctioneer said. "Do I hear 3? 3, Ralph called out. He and Vanellope thought all they had to do was yell out the biggest number to win. Soon, the bidding went so high that the first bidder dropped out, but Ralph and Vanellope kept going until... "Sold," said the auctioneer for $227,001. The two friends felt great until they learned they had to pay $27,001. If they didn't pay within 24 hours, they'd lose the steering wheel. Ralph and Vanellope went back to the pop-up ad they'd seen earlier. His name was PJ Spamley. He and his partner, Gord, showed them a list of items that could be found in video games that would earn them money. A special car from Slaughter Race was worth even more than they needed. It belonged to Shank, the game's toughest racer. "All you gotta do is bring me Shanks' car," said Spamley. Ralph and Vanellope found their way to Slaughter Race and saw two avatar players trying to take the car. But Shank and her crew knocked them out of the game. Ralph had an idea. He pretended to be a noise inspector to draw Shank's attention away from the car. Vanellope quickly hopped behind the wheel and hit the gas. Ralph scrambled into the car with her, but Shank wasn't about to give up so easily. She climbed into another car and raced after them. Shank cornered Ralph and Vanellope before they could make it to the exit of the game with her car. Ralph explained that they were trying to save Sugar Rush. All of a sudden, one of Shank's crew blasted Ralph with a leaf blower, while another shot a video. Shank said they could make money by posting crazy videos like that on BuzzTube. Her friend Yes was in charge. "Tell her I sent you." As they were leaving, Shank complimented Vanellope. "If you ever want to come back for a rematch, I'd be happy to kick your butt again." But Ralph didn't trust Shank. At that moment, a messenger popped up. "Just here to let you know that your bid expires in 8 hours. Vanellope convinced Ralph that their best bet was to make the money they needed for the steering wheel was to find Yes at BuzzTube. Reluctantly, Ralph agreed. At BuzzTube, Ralph pushed open the door to Yes's office. "Are you the head of Al Gore?" he asked. Yes explained she was the head algorithm and the curator of all the content at BuzzTube. "Call for security," she said. But when her assistant told her that Ralph's leaf blower video had 1.3 million hearts, she changed her mind. "Well," reckoned Ralph, "you are trending, and these are for you," Yes said as she gave him a multitude of hearts. "Not to buzzkill the heart fest," Vanellope said. but Shank kinda told us that viral videos could make actual money. Oh, hearts are money, honey. Yes, said. But the popularity of Ralph's video was declining. To raise enough money for the steering wheel, Ralph had to make more videos. To get Ralph as many hearts as possible, Yes mobilized BuzzTube's army of pop-up ads to fan out across the internet. Vanellope volunteered to help. After proving to Yes that she could be persistent and annoying, Vanellope hopped into a limo and it was dropped off at ohmydisney.com. But Vanellope didn't have a permit. She had to hide to avoid being caught. She glitched through a locked door and found herself face to face with avatars of Disney princesses. Vanellope told them she was a princess too, the Princess of Sugar Rush. The princesses loved Vanellope's casual fashion sense. Before long, they were all dressed like her. "All hail Princess Vanellope, Queen of Comfy," said Cinderella. Ralph needed just one more big video to get the last bit of money for the steering wheel. While Yes worked on uploading the final video file, Ralph entered a room filled with thousands of other users' comments. Ralph thought that everyone loved him, but now he realized he was wrong. Some users hated him. Ralph shrugged it off. "It's fine," he told Yes. "As long as Vanellope likes me, I don't need anybody else." Love him or hate him, Ralph's final video was a hit. Now, he had all the money he needed to fix Sugar Rush. On his way to eBay, Ralph called Vanellope to tell her she was going to get the wheel, and then they were going home. After Vanellope hung up the phone, she realized she didn't feel happy about leaving the internet. There was just something about Slaughter Race that she was drawn to. It was new, exciting, and unpredictable. Vanellope liked it so much, she started to sing about it. At the same time, Ralph celebrated buying the wheel at eBay. Sugar Rush was saved. As Ralph left eBay, he contacted Vanellope with Buzz Face. When her phone accidentally turned on, Ralph saw that she was with Shank in Slaughter Race. But Ralph was muted, so Vanellope didn't know he was there. When he stopped talking, he heard her tell Shank that she loved Slaughter Race so much that she wasn't planning to go back to Sugar Rush. Ralph was devastated. Spamley was with Ralph and he heard everything Vanellope said. But Spamley had an idea. What if Ralph could slow Slaughter Race down so that Vanellope would lose interest? Spamley took Ralph to see his cousin Double Dan. Double Dan had a virus that would slow the game down. Its name was Arthur. He handed it to Ralph in a wooden box. Double Dan told Ralph it was safe to use, but warned him, all you have to do is make sure the virus stays in Slaughter Race. Ralph hid when he entered Slaughter Race to release the virus. He opened the box and Arthur slipped out. The virus immediately went to work looking for errors. It scanned everything looking for weaknesses. When Vanellope glitched, the virus copied the error and spread it through the game. As the game sputtered and twitched, the buildings of Slaughterhouse began to fall apart. Shank told Vanellope that they needed to leave. "I think it's my glitch. I don't know how this is happening," Vanellope said. She tried to swerve out of the way, but a beam crashed on top of her car. Pieces of the website fell all around, but Ralph only cared about Vanellope. He knew that because Vanellope wasn't part of the code of Slaughter Race, if something happened to her, she'd be gone for good. He punched a hole in the firewall of the game and pulled her from her broken car and laid her on the sidewalk outside. "Come on, Vanellope, wake up," Ralph said. "I can't live without you." Vanellope's eyes finally opened, but she didn't feel like celebrating. She blamed herself for crashing the game. Ralph admitted he was the one responsible for the virus. "You did this?" she said. Vanellope was furious. She threw the medal she'd made for Ralph down into the older net. Then she turned and walked away. In the meantime, the virus had escaped the hole that Ralph had left in the wall. It started scanning. When it got to Ralph, the worm's readout displayed "Insecurity detected." Down in the older net, Ralph searched for his medal. "You are such an idiot," he said to himself. When he found it, it was broken in two. Hearing a loud sound behind him, Ralph turned. A familiar-looking figure stood close by. "Oh no," said Ralph. "What did I do?" Meanwhile, Vanellope had made her way to Knowsmore. He was thrilled to see her. "A whole bunch of Ralphs are chasing me," she said. "Well, isn't that interesting?" he responded, as the clones got closer. Knowsmore and Vanellope pulled down the shutters on Knowsmore's booth. At that moment, the real Ralph burst through the door. "What did you do?" Vanellope said. Knowsmore explained that the Ralph clones had been generated by an insecurity virus. If they were able to get the clones to the antivirus district, the security software would delete them all. Vanellope knew that if the clones could see her, they would follow her. She just needed a friend with transportation. Once Yes arrived with her limo, Vanellope popped out of the sunroof. "It's me, your bestest friend in the whole wide world, who can't live without you," Vanellope shouted to the clones. The giant Ralph clone grabbed Vanellope and climbed to the top of a skyscraper. She escaped the clone's grasp, but then it snatched Ralph and started to squeeze him. Vanellope pleaded with the clone, "Let him go and I'll be your friend forever." But Ralph said no. He told the clone that it couldn't stand in the way of Vanellope's dreams. "It'll hurt a little, but you have to let go." Then he returned to Vanellope. "We'll be okay, won't we, kid?" "Of course we will," Vanellope said. "Always." Ralph smiled as he felt his insecurities lessen and fade away. Suddenly, the clones began disappearing. The internet waved. Ralph and Vanellope prepared to say goodbye, for now anyway. Slaughter Race was going back online, and Vanellope would become part of Shanks' crew. Ralph handed Vanellope half of his broken hero medal. "Now we can both have a half," he said. Vanellope gave her friend a big hug. "I love you so much, you big dummy. I'm really gonna miss you." Ralph sighed. "I'm gonna miss you too." Ralph and Vanellope remained the very best of friends, even though they didn't spend every day together. Vanellope became one of the top racers in Slaughter Race, and Ralph was happy to be back as the bad guy in Fix-It Felix Jr. One night, Felix called to Ralph through a window. "Ralph, you okay out there?" Ralph took a moment to look out into the arcade. "Actually, I'm doing great," he said. "Let's get to work, pal." I love that story. I wish that I could race in Sugar Rush. That would be so cool. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm JosieWose. You can like and subscribe for more videos just like this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.